So, when and where should you promote yourself? Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Creative Exploration series. This week, I wanted to talk about advertising yourself and what generally is appropriate. Now, this kind of ties into last week's episode where I was talking about spreading your content as far as you can over the internet. And I wanted to go into more detail about finding work from that. And I think that that's very important. Now, first and foremost, I wanted to say that going out and actively spamming your work is not a method that you should employ. There are so many game dev groups that I'm a part of where somebody posts a project or a game looking for actual critiques or feedback on it, and he just gets inundated with audio designers looking for work. And in the very least, that's incredibly disrespectful to the conversation and the developer in general. And really, in the worst case, it might actually make you look incredibly bad and people wouldn't want to work with you directly because they just consider you a spammer. You want to make sure that when you do contact people, and if you want to work on a project, you definitely should contact them, but you should contact them not in a public space. You should use like a private message or an email, and those should be readily available from the developer or whoever you want to work with. I think that it's incredibly important to initiate contact in a private message rather than a public forum. So if you can't just spam everywhere, what exactly do you do to find work? And really the short version of this is to make art and to make friends. Now, all of the jobs that I've personally been a part of, except for one, which I'll get to in a minute, were because somebody liked what I did, or because somebody that I knew either needed my work or knew somebody that needed my work, if that makes sense. A friend of a friend, basically word of mouth. And this is not a fast process by any stretch of the imagination. It's something that takes time and tons of dedication to put together. And that really relates back to spreading your work all over the internet so it's easier to find. But it's also one of the only real ways that I've found to get work consistently. And if you think about it, if you don't have any examples of your work available online, nobody will know what they're getting themselves into when they work with you. If you don't have like a portfolio, if you don't have a demo reel, nobody will be able to tell what exactly you do. And if you don't have a network of friends and acquaintances, it's extremely unlikely that there will be anybody out there who will notice you, who will find you. And it's important to have those people that you work with that you know, to help spread your wings a little bit, because you're only one person. You can only reach so far. And now this sounds awful, really. But the plus side for this is that there are communities that exist all over the internet specifically to whatever you want to work on. So if you want to make music for games, there are tons of public communities out there that you can join and be a part of. And if you want to do art for albums, for example, just hang out with a bunch of musicians. I mean, most likely, if you are doing work for something, you have a passion for that thing in itself. So if you're doing work for games, you probably like video games. And if you're doing art for albums, you probably like music. Like, that would only make sense. And the thing is, you just need to be a part of the world that they live in. Just go and make friends. And in those conversations, your art will inevitably come up, either through people asking you directly or them following you on social media and finding what you do. Cat is in the way. This cat is in the way. And again, this takes time and energy, but that's really the reason why most people don't do it. It's so much easier to just spam your links everywhere and hope for the best, but it really rarely works. Now, I should mention that one of the most lucrative jobs I've had over the past couple years didn't come through friends or them really knowing my work specifically. It came about through the knowledge of what exactly needs to happen with that work. And what happened was I was on Reddit browsing game dev, and somebody had posted their trailer. And I really had a bunch of issues with the audio in that trailer. Like, things weren't synced up very well, and there were these weird gaps. And I wrote this really long list of things that they can look into fixing. Obviously, this is a critique. I was not being like, oh, this is crap. I was offering advice, not only what was wrong, but how to fix what was wrong, because obviously they were using stock stuff that they found online. And I actually got a direct message from the developer in reply to my critique, asking me if I wanted to be a part of their team to do audio. Because obviously it sounded like I knew what I was talking about. And then things kind of moved from there. And I've been working with them for probably the last year and a half now. And overall, it's been a really great relationship with that client since then. It's been moving on, and I've done several games for them just doing sound effects. And I think that that's really important to express your knowledge in a constructive way. Obviously, don't be a jerk about it, but if you find something that doesn't seem right to you, if somebody's actually actively looking for critique, then offer your advice, offer your knowledge. Because if you prove to know this kind of stuff, people are much more likely to want to work with you in the future, and they'll keep your name in mind. So I really hope that this helps. It's a little more wiggly than some of the other topics that I've talked about, but do you guys have any thoughts or suggestions on how to get noticed? I'd love to hear your comments below. As always, check out Trello.abstractionmusic.com to vote on and suggest upcoming creative exploration topics and see what's coming up next. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Be remarkable. This episode is supported by these beautiful Patreon subscribers. Just look at those perfectly shaped names.